Welcome to the Uranus and Gemini video number one. As we talk about the ingress, the first time since the 1940s, we're all going to have a new experience of what is electric, breakthrough, invention, change, and radical, unexpected energy. You know, Uranus moving into Gemini after being in Taurus since 2018. I think a lot of Aquarians are going to breathe a sigh of relief because a lot of us have been nomading and changing our home all over the place. Now it's somebody else's turn. We're going to talk today with Adam Elenbaas. He was my teacher back in 2018 in Hellenistic astrology. He's going to share with us his research into how Uranus in the sign of Gemini might play out and what we might expect when it comes to areas of life to do with communication, transportation, learning, and technology. And of course, golden, and of course, artificial intelligence as well. This takes us back to the 40s when we had a lot of stuff going on, like the golden age of radio, telephone booths were being built, highways were being constructed, infrastructures around telecommunications were changing. Funny enough, so the way the mailbox delivery was happening was changing. We're going to see changes in information technology, transportation and communications technologies of all kinds. It's an exciting time to be alive as Uranus enters into Gemini. Well, he's also trine Pluto, and Adam goes with me into a special feature of focused on how Pluto and Uranus, the two planets in a flowing air trine, will work together for us, not just between now, right, July 7th and 2033, when when Uranus gets out of the sign of Gemini, but rather also connected to the fact that he's here July 7th to November 7th in a testing the waters first run in the early first degree of Gemini. So basically, we're going to get a big vibe July 7th to November 7th, and then he's going to retrograde and won't be back into Uranus until April 25th. So we're going to test the waters this summer. So my delineation for your sign happens after my interview with Adam. I talk about the Venus, the Pluto. I talk about Venus connected to Uranus at the ingress, Pluto trine, what it means for you this summer, July through to November. For your sign, sun, moon, and rising. Listen for sun if it's your career and purpose and your deepest self, moon, home-based matters, your feelings about life, and your rising sign, anything about you. That's down the road after the Adam interview. I hope you'll watch the Adam interview. He shares also some information about his upcoming course. It is going to be a great opportunity to learn astrology even a professional level for a year with him. If you want to jump into his June enrollment, information will be in our discussion together about that course and what it entails. Yes, you know, I'm teaching my Sky Reader this summer as well, July, August. If you want to jump into a short jumpstart into astrology for 6 weeks to be your own astrologer and time your best life, you're so welcome to come aboard that as well. I have a different product. I'm not sitting with you for an entire year and giving you a test at the end. I'm having more fun and we're learning the basics and some simple timing tools. So either product, go for it. And I'll see you guys. I hope some of you in class this summer. So let's get going and to start off with my Adam interview. And then we're going to move into my All Signs for You. And thanks, guys. And don't forget my All Signs 25 bundles for sale. And if you want to know how to do your career right based on your astrology chart, find your real career kind of vibe. You know, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm teaching that class on June 21st. So come aboard and join me in that class as well. Information for that class is below as well. Thanks, guys. Ciao. See you soon. Adam's next. And here we have in my guest room, Adam Elenbaas, my teacher back in 2018, when I first learned how to actually read the sky from the traditional method of astrology. I'm ever so grateful for that. And here he is today to share Uranus in the sign of Gemini, not seen since the 40s. Welcome, Adam, and say hello and tell us what you're up to these days.
Oh, thanks for having me back. It's always fun to chat and look at planetary alignments with you, and yeah, and just watch your channel growing and thriving. It's awesome. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. And thanks for giving me an opportunity to tell everyone what's up. We're in enrollment season right now at Nightlight. So all of our programs are in ancient Hellenistic astrology, but we always feature a kind of modern psychological perspective. It's sort of baked into everything I do. But our first year course starts on June 22nd. This is our 30th program over 15 years. We've done 2 a year for 15 years now, so it's pretty cool to see that. But yeah, we start in on a year program in ancient Hellenistic astrology. We have 4 years worth of curriculum at Nightlight, so this is just the first step in a long series that's available to people depending on how deep they want to go. But yeah, that's we're in enrollment season for that. Our horary course starts this month as well. So yeah, lots of stuff happening right now.
Yeah, and for those of you listening who think about learning astrology for yourself, you don't have to learn this to be a professional. You're going to learn so much about how to use the ancient tools and understand yourself from a different perspective in this first year class. I love that. I launched a business off the first year class, but you don't have to be in order to do that. You could go just for yourself, for your camaraderie of other like-minded people. You're going to meet there. It's fun, and you never fall through the cracks. I love that Adam has so much support staff to help you learn and not give up on learning. So it's not just you're thrown into a self-study. You got a lot of support there, right, Adam?
Yeah, we've got tutors that lead breakout study sessions and Q&A sessions in between our major units of study. These are teachers that I've trained myself that are fantastic. And we've got a forum discussion group that many of our students end up building connections off from to meet up with outside of class, as well as, staff that are in that discussion forum answering questions 24/7. So it's a really well-supported community experience. And it really can be taken at your own pace. Like you can take it all online through the live webinars, where we also have lots of active discussion around every lesson, or people can kind of follow along at their own pace with the recordings that are kept on your course page. So it's super flexible. And yeah, and I think we have people who take it for personal development. Like if this is a language that you love, that's your spiritual companion in life, then taking a class like this can deepen that and really help you take the steering wheel a little bit more, be your own astrologer, which I think is important. But many people end up that come in on that path end up realizing maybe I have the capacity to read for other people. And of course, we have lots of people who take the courses specifically when they go through all 3-4 years. They're
Yes.
usually utilizing that to start their own professional
Yeah,
practice.
you guys, you get a test at the end. You actually get a little test of reading a chart to see if you pass. So it's not just fluffy stuff. So you got
You
to
don't
be,
have to take that test.
but
Like
you don't
people,
have
it's
to.
optional. Yeah.
That's the professional track. You take the
Yeah.
test. I still remember biting my nails in Baltimore, visiting a girlfriend, going, "Oh my God, I hope I pass."
Yeah, no, you were a rock star. Like you were just an awesome student in the program.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much for that. I really enjoyed it so much. I can't say enough. And I took the second year program and I enjoyed that as well. A second year version. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to dive into the transit of Uranus into the sign of Gemini, which is upcoming, begins on July 7th, and it's going to move through to November 7th in terms of his first ingress or movement in there. We haven't seen this since like the 1941 to 49 timeframe. And I'm just going to pass the talking stick to Adam and see what he thinks about this story.
Yeah. I think that Uranus in Gemini, the first thing that I can see it doing it takes about 7 years for Uranus to go through any sign of the zodiac. So we've had 7 years of Uranus in an Earth sign. Now it's moving into air, and not just air, but Mercury's double-bodied air sign of Gemini. It's going to be trining Pluto in Aquarius for a couple of years through, I think it's 5 total direct contacts. So we are entering into an era that is going to be defined along these transit lines, the Uranus, Pluto in Gemini and Aquarius, uh, with respect to rapid developments in technology, in thinking, in how we perceive and how we communicate, developments in language, developments in our understanding of consciousness, of technology, really on all levels. It could be medical technology, it could be, AI. So I'm expecting it over the next couple of years to see if we think that we've seen a lot with Pluto entering Aquarius, especially with the rapid dissemination of AI technology. I think it's going to be 3 or 4 times faster in its development because of how lightning fast Uranus in a Mercury ruled air sign is likely to be. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the things that's going to come first is just this is a sign in Gemini ruled by Mercury Hermes, who was in ancient astrology the god associated with inventors and inventiveness and quick-minded, adaptable, flexible ingenuity. And now we have the god of revolution coming into this air sign and hitting Pluto and Aquarius. That's the way I see it going. Probably lowest hanging fruit on the tree is watch as our understanding, technology, ideas just like rapidly, develop or evolve.
Yeah. I did a little research on a funny part of that. It's sort of like a historic bookend. You know what I mean? Because it was back in the 1940s when he was here before that we ended up having the United States Post Office, a messenger of the gods, Mercury, with his little winged foot, is actually the symbol for the U.S. Postal Service. And the big revolutionary change in the U.S. Postal Service was the use of airplanes to deliver the mail in bulk across the country. And
Right.
so all of a sudden the tech went, okay, we don't just drive these bits of mail across the country in lorries or trucks. We get the stuff in the air and we get it moving right to you. And the bookend is right now the Postal Service is falling apart in the United States. And
Mhm.
here we have this new like high tech communication Mercury and entertainment too. Like I remember the 1940s was the golden age of radio. What's our next golden age of mass media? Yee.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, totally. I was some other things that happened during the 40s because I did a presentation on this a little while ago, so I cataloged some similar archetypal correlations like that one. It was Jean Piaget, I think that's how you say his name, he became the director of the International Bureau of Education. And at that time, even though his ideas are not necessarily trending now, right? But back then they were. He was instrumental in developing a whole new level of understanding in children's developmental learning. So just that like Hermes, Mercury, Gemini, here was this revolution in our understanding of how kids are best educated, how their brains develop. I mean, stuff like that. Or like another interesting one in terms of what gets planted as a seed during these periods that may develop later, like people
Mhm.
who are born with Uranus and Gemini. Dennis Ritchie, who creates the C programming language, born with Uranus and Gemini.
Oh
That,
wow.
that becomes like this huge part of the evolving language of technology for, decades and decades to come. So really, and then also like people like the experimental nature of Uranus and Gemini can be seen in things that you wouldn't think of as technological. You'd think of them maybe as artistic, but there's a crossover. So, for example, Brian Eno. Do you know Brian Eno?
Is an artist a musician?
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
music. He's like one of the main pioneers of like ambient electronica music.
Okay.
And basically he is thought of as one of the pioneers of electronic music that would, and he was born with Uranus and Gemini. So I think like the way that the inventiveness and the receptivity to using technology in different ways that have never been done before is a feature of this transit that will be in art and culture, in film, and in politics. I mean, in learning, so many different arenas.
Yeah, and one thing about that too is like the because you get with that Gemini communication and transportation and learning themes, there's just so much there. And don't forget, AI itself is learning right now, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it's learning how to be itself, whatever itself is. I have a good story about AI in a bit, but back in the day, back in the 40s, there already were cars, but what changed was this big highway act in which the government decided to fund a huge amount of infrastructure building for an existing technology. So sometimes I wonder, which changed the way the United States functioned in the 50s, because that became the suburban life, right? You didn't have suburbanites and suburban life until the United States took the technology, the car, by the Model T Ford, so to speak, gave it a place to roll, like, and built massive infrastructure. So you kind of have that kind of inventive, but transportation was not unique. Like things changed. Better airplanes came out. Cars became more useful because there was the proper infrastructure for them. So I also
Right,
wonder what things were already planted, maybe when Uranus was in Taurus, like we have cars with no drivers.
right.
We have flying airplanes that you can pilot yourself, like the independent airplane vehicles. There's a name for those. I can't remember, but they haven't taken off yet.
Right, right. Yeah, so you could see things like the rapid development and integration of things that have been previously developed. That's a really good point. I also think about there's like such an experimental quality that can be a little like there's a shadow to the experimental nature. Um, for example, I'm just getting through my notes here to find this one little point that I thought was kind of interesting. It was, I want to say it was, so during the 1940s 40s, one of the things that's still like that was sort of it had a history prior to the 1940s, but there was like almost like a confrontation with it was eugenics, which is this pseudoscience of improving genetic quality of the human population through selective breeding, sterilization. It's like pretty dark stuff.
Hmm.
And the confrontation with that as a pseudoscience was really coming to a head during the 40s from everything I was reading. And I thought that's very Uranus and Gemini too, where it's like the things that we may come to understand, like the dark side of a technology or the dark side of a science, or almost like a gullibility. Oh, look at how there's this idea and look at how quickly we can advance if we all embrace it, but there's not a skepticism and enough distance to reflect and digest and go like, is this true? Is this actually real? That Uranus and Gemini might be rather impatient in advancing ideas that are maybe less substantive or not like as real as they initially seem to be. That's like a shadow that I wonder about.
Hmm. Well, when it comes to AI already, like for example, because I think a lot of the AI story is embedded. Quantum computing, yes, but also AI is embedded in this particular transit, right? And fueled by Pluto trining it in the first few years. It seems to me that there already is this kind of early concern, circumspection about all the froth and excitement and innocence and naivete. Like
Hmm.
Mercury represents the youth in astrology, right? And there's a sense of youthfulness around the whole thing. And then you end up with this kind of possible, oh, look what we've done.
Right.
Hell and a space odyssey, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's also this like one thing that I mean, I as someone who's a natal Mars in Gemini, I feel like I have like some experience in the school of Gemini in my own chart, you know. But I do wonder about like one of the things that was a hallmark of the 40s were some of the greatest works of existentialism that were published during Uranus's stay in Gemini. Sartre's Being and Nothingness, 1943, Albert Camus' The Stranger, 1942. These texts had a major influence on that decade and well beyond, and were really, in my view, like breakthroughs in philosophical thinking. I mean, they sort of are part of the shift from modernity to postmodernity, philosophically speaking. And like Hermes, they call things into question. You know, the whatever like the if the principles are the redemptive narrative of Christianity in the West, you know, whatever the narrative is about meaning and redemption and or God or whatever it is, Mercury, I think the real gift of Mercury is saying, but why or how or really is that true? Or even the kind of the ambiguity of Gemini and the willingness to sort of throw things up in the air and rather than being decisive or certain to embrace uncertainty or a kind of unknowing or a deconstructive tendency. Obviously,
Mhm.
these movements and philosophy come really close together with like deconstructionism and like other things like that. So I I also wonder if there may be with some of these advancements, if there's deeper questions about meaning and purpose, and the kind of ambiguity that Mercury and Gemini introduces being a pivot point for how we're thinking about ourselves and how we're thinking about the universe and meaning itself. I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
Well, yeah. And because, like, if you just take the classic Aries rising zodiac and you place Gemini in the third house, it becomes the triad of the Kama houses, which are desire, but also relatingness, right? So there's also something about, what, how I relate to others, one on one, one within myself, Jekyll Hyde. I always jokingly call the Geminis the Jekyll Hydes, but anyway, but how I relate to the devil on my shoulder and the angel, the inner relating of my own psyche. I think of that as very Gemini like, me and
Hmm.
the Libra other, me and my
Yeah.
others. And then, of course, we go over to Aquarius, me and my masses, me and my society. But I kind of think that this kind of Pluto involvement, which is something new, right? I mean, how do you even begin to figure out what that's going to be? Because it's not an easy way to go back. I mean, historically, I'm sure there is. I haven't figured it out, but it wasn't the 1940s that Pluto was in a flowing trine in air to support this beginning of what is beginning in the next 2 to 3 years. This is exciting, but I'm kind of excited and also a little trepidatious for the thing we didn't see. Like
Yeah.
the like eugenics is kind of optimistically happy in the 30s that we can just breed better, you know?
Right, right, right.
And then the
Yeah,
dark side is like controlled, controlled.
right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And there, I think also of the, one thing that I love about the sign of Gemini is sort of how much of a, I want to call it like an irreverence there is in the sign for tradition and norms, and is a very provocative trickster. It can disrupt norms and do so with this flippancy, this just ease that I think is really interesting. I was noting that in the 40s, we're going back to that last Uranus and Gemini transit, the first Kinsey report was published. And people know a little bit about like, the trajectory of our understanding of sexual behavior in human beings. And this first report about men made it clear that far more men were there were more same-sex activity in men than had ever previously been thought. It was like being treated as if it was this um, 1 in a billion type of thing. No, it's actually really common. Or that masturbation is normal and happens regularly for men, or that premarital sex and extramarital sex is common for men. All of these truths about human sexuality. And the Kinsey report, that first report, laid the way for more research that was
Yeah.
groundbreaking. So
Yeah.
I think just that, like, and or like during the 40s, like Rosie the Riveter, like women are working during the wartime effort, and there's things that are happening that change the role or status of
Oh,
women, stuff like that,
yes.
like the kind of gender fluid, irreverent, prodding at established ideas. Like I think Uranus and Gemini is really good at that kind of stuff.
Oh, for sure. Like, Mercury himself is kind of, gender neutral, androgynous, gender fluid. A lot of times, in a chart with a client, you'll look at the double bodied signs for how, bisexual somebody might be, but also just Gemini or Mercury himself. And it's interesting that you should talk about this because back in the time that the North Node was moving through Gemini, that was the beginning of the transgender movement really taking off, getting a lot of
Hmm.
support, that's just like back in 2021, getting a lot of publicity, a lot of support, a lot of new laws passed in favor of, etc. The bathroom situation. Now it's kind of turned around and kind of gone the other way, where now there's a sort of what went to a height is going down to the denouement or some sort. But it is certainly going to be an interesting time to live through when we already have this kind of, gender, the whole thing is there, right? The whole, like, the norms are no longer norm. There's so much room for non-normative or non-central tendency, bell curve, sexual expression, gender expression,
Yes.
etc.
Yes.
So what's going to happen when we get Uranus in there and the Pluto trine?
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't even begin. Maybe it's not even about gender. Maybe it's about whether you're human or transhuman.
Hmm. Well, one thing that's really interesting that I've been thinking about with respect, especially with the two planets in air trining one another, I've been playing with the elemental theory in ancient astrology that linked air and water together as opposites. There's different ways of conceptualizing the yin and yang elements, fire and air and earth and water. One of them pairs water and air as opposites. In this theory, air is essentially invisible water in the sky. Because
Mhm.
eventually what happens is, the ancients observe like the clouds will condense and rain will drop, water will drop from the sky. So it's as though there's an invisible water in the sky, and there's this link between the two of them. They turn into each other and so forth. Um, to me, when you have such a tremendous emphasis on air, you can, on a sort of metaphorical level, you can think to yourself, the emphasis on mind, thought, ideas, technology, at some point will have a way of, there's a catharsis built into that emphasis on air that will have to condense and like drop down to earth. Um,
Mhm.
and so for example, one of the things that's developed in the 1940s is that was the decade from all the research I did where clinical psychology is being formalized as a credible profession. So here we have like, it's obviously psychology. We've got an ology in there that suggests a mental, rational, kind of almost like a science, but it's a science of behavior and instinct and emotion and emotional patterns of behavior. And so there's this intimate connection between technologies and advancement of understanding, and then their inevitable connection to human life. And if they don't connect back to the instinctual kind of human biological or ecological realm, it's as though the tension between the two becomes almost like a shadow of the emphasis on air. Like we get cut off from our own bodies or our own humanity, or the air can have us like dissociating. So I look at something like clinical psychology as a great example of air and water sort of moving along a spectrum with one another. And I think that's also something we have to think about. Is like, how do these airy planets not take us away from our humanity, but deepen it?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I like that idea. That's really cool. I never thought of it that way. And I never thought of the air water connection that way before either, but it's obvious when you express it, you know? Certainly, I mean, foggy, misty, wet water, you know, is air in various forms. So
Right.
very, very cool. I kind of also would say, though, the other thing about the Pluto experience, I don't care. Pluto in a trine is supposedly positive, but he's still just Pluto, right? So there's a lot of that element of dictatorial overreach, power,
Mhm.
expression of power over a sign that's connected to very, very much to like the communications industry.
Right.
And I don't know if we can take the trine and massage it. You know, there's a lot more censorship. There's a lot more cutting, you know, siloing people and interest in the internet, controlling the narrative. There's been a lot of that building. So if that's a seed that's been building, will the Pluto try and exacerbate that in that realm? You know,
Right.
the radio era was huge, the golden age of radio, because people were listening to radio. They had a new tech development that allowed for, like, I guess, the transistor thing to do something different in the 40s. And that became a thing where people sit around and listen to their information systems, right? For entertainment and for information. And we already have the internet. But the wondering I have is there, we already had the radio in the 40s, expanded its reach. We already have the internet and we already have podcasts. What's next? What will expand? But then I
Right.
wonder about Pluto being this gnarly, censorous, controlling element of reality where some dictatorial power plutocrats have the power and are going to inform how people get their information.
Yeah, I mean it is fair to say that the Pluto Uranus trine could be about people who have both money, power, and technological influence or control, sort of um, having the resources they need to dictate the direction that collectives are going in. That's not a particularly, that can be, that's a little scary. So, but I mean, yeah, that could be, I think that could be one thing going on. Another thing that comes to my mind is the Uranus associated with Prometheus, and the Promethean connection to Uranus, it invokes the fire theft, right? The stealing of the fire from the gods, and the revolutionary impulse of Pluto and Aquarius. If we go back to the connection with the French and American revolutions that Pluto and Aquarius was associated with during its last transit, I could also see there being some revolutionary impulse to create or concoct channels of information or ways in which technology is being taken back from an authoritarian figure. But the struggle would imply that there is one trying to control the narrative as well, So that revolutionary spirit to me suggests the potential to push back too, which I think is promising.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah, I love that. Like, you know, we always see little pushbacks happening already from where the controlled narrative is, etc., around who can say what and where, and all of that. What do you call it when you just slam somebody? There's a name for it. They're not politically correct, so you cancel culture. Oh my
Yeah,
god,
yeah,
cancer culture. But anyway, people, instead of being victimized by all of it, end up creating or revolting and creating whole new systems, like True Social, Trump's True Social, but whole new
right.
systems of go over here. We're free over here. There's freedom over here, you know?
Yeah. I'm thinking also about uh it there's this interesting way again to talk about the technology and its potential connection to humanity, right? Is there a way in which the innovative spirit of these planets, Uranus and Pluto in particular, can influence us to understand in the environment better, the ecosystems better? Can we get smarter with respect to our stewardship of the earth? There's another example that to me is very much about the advancement of understanding, but that's directed toward our human well-being and toward our health, which is during the 40s, sort of World War II, post-World War II era, the rapid advancement in our understanding of PTSD was taking place, quote
Ah,
unquote shell shock, right? And we were advancing really rapidly in our understanding of how serious this trauma was and what to do about it. So there's like a conceptual level of understanding of the, our human wiring. And I think if we like a paradoxical thing that could happen is technology is helping us to understand the importance of stepping away from technology. Like, it wouldn't surprise me, going back to developmental learning in children, if we have a lot of advancement or understanding of what is happening to kids developmentally who are exposed to too much screen time. That kind of thing, where it's
yeah,
like paradoxical, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Understanding the human. Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up, right? Because Gemini is the twins and the brothers. And so it is a human form. And in Aquarius, you have the water bearing sort of humanoid figure, the angel. And you got two of these things that involve the world, the world of the human, not the world of the lion or the world of, you
Right,
know what I mean? A
right,
creature like a crab. So we're really talking about this being extremely positive or extremely intense or extremely exciting or extremely revolutionary about how we perceive our humanness in the next few years. Not even just is how we understand who we are. And that's that whole transhumanism movement.
mhm.
I saw Elon Musk had a implant in the brain of a guy who was in like a complete neck down paralysis, and he was a test pilot for this technology going into his brain that allows him. I saw the video, I watched this guy's story, that allows him to begin to communicate with his mind, like he tells the computer, turn on.
Wow.
Yes. Then he
I haven't heard about that.
yes, and then he moves his eyes to the right, and he thinks so the learning curve. He's learning to interface with a technology in his head that then interfaces with the device, which is his computer screen. And it's really interesting because at first it's baby steps, like Piaget, what can a baby do at this level? A child thinks this way, etc. Well, they're literally not so much training the technology, but training this young guy how to actually perceive, how to interface with this thing in a way. There's steps to do it. So eventually he's at the place where he just thinks instantly, like computer turn on, but took steps to get there. So
Right.
he had to imagine in his mind he was touching the computer. And eventually he now didn't have to do that at all. He could just think
Yeah.
it. So that transhumanism interface thing that scares people, here's somebody locked in their body from the neck down, couldn't
Right.
couldn't really do a thing. His mother took care of him after an accident, at a freak accident, if I believe. He was a young guy in a lake and he got dunked by a friend, but the angle of the dunk cracked his neck at a level that it was just a freak accident. So
Oh,
when I think,
geez.
and he had to apply to be in this project, and he got it. Anyway, he went public with what's happening, but to me, that's the best you can get with this kind of
Right.
human and technology interface.
It's super interesting that, like, another thing that came in 1943 was Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Mm-hmm.
and an understanding. For example, uh, we all who consume astrology and think about these archetypes and things as a method of maybe self-improvement or self-actualization, spiritually, personally, whatever, that we can only do so, Maslow's hierarchy says, to the extent that like our survival needs are like basically met, and that you kind of, from these basic level needs, like, do I have food, do I have shelter, is my fight or flight responses not just coping with like that level of things, that you gradually build up to these higher concerns. And again, like, it's so interesting how the technology can be something that, if it's only emphasizing the benefits to the people who are at the top of the pyramid, right, then it, like, how effective is it? But if it's doing something, if the technology is something that can greatly improve, let's say, the people that are just struggling to survive, or that have paralysis, like you just said, right, then
Mm-hmm.
it improves the ability of life such that the higher aims of life, such as personal development or spirituality, are uh, accessible, right? So I think about, like, one of the things I love about, like, most of my friends who are Geminis care a great deal about like openness and accessibility.
Yeah. No, I love that you brought the pyramid up. I haven't thought about that for a while. Actually, there's a story that there was one more layer of the pyramid at the top that he didn't include, right?
Ooh.
It was the Enlightenment capstone. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, he didn't want to put it out there. It'd be too woo or too unaccepted at the time.
Okay. Well, you said the capstone. I have to bring this up. I
Like,
just recently was watching, I don't remember where I was watching this, but apparently they've discovered the potential that underneath the pyramids are these giant structures. Have you heard about that?
yeah, like deep spirals, like almost like capacitors or something.
Yeah, like I feel like the other thing, just to go totally out to Mars, just feels like, or out into the galaxy or whatever, is the potential to understand technologies that are here on Earth that have alien history behind them. I know for some people, if you hear that, you might just initially just go like, "Ah, I don't believe it" or something. But I'm someone who's, more skeptical by nature. Like I don't get on woo-woo bandwagon super easily. I have to really feel it to get on board with it. I don't think it's far-fetched to say that we're in the Pluto in Aquarius entire transit of like a couple decades, especially with the 7 years with Uranus, that
Hmm.
we might be exposed to forms of technology that have been here for a really long time that are sort of alien. That I'm not feeling like any longer at all like that's far-fetched.
Yeah, I'm not feeling far-fetched either. Talk to Dan Waits about it. He and I are like always going that the aliens are
Right,
coming, but
right,
they've already been here.
right,
I think it's kind of like, Pluto unearths what is hidden. He represents the hidden realm, and he had a cloaking device to make himself invisible in ancient mythology. So quite possibly that which has been cloaked from view or hidden from view, it's been there all along. You see, cloaking
right.
what's already there. Is there really some massive mega structure under that pyramid? The Cheops pyramid, I think, that would reveal a technology below that was always there but not seen, and that will reframe humanity's history entirely. Like,
Yeah,
let alone that, whether we knew how to use the technology if it was discovered under the pyramid or not. It was a sound ground penetrating sound radar of some sort that like did like almost like a deep ultrasound to find it there. And there is scientific controversy about whether the interpretation of the ultrasound is correct.
right. Yeah,
But well, time will tell, because at some point someone's going to have to go underneath and take a look. You know what I mean? Let
yeah.
alone what's the Vatican's hiding in their archives. Maybe the new Pope will reveal those stories as
I
well.
mean, could it have been more literal when Saturn and Neptune changed signs into Aries and we see the transfer of papal like power and role like
Oh
and
my God.
it
I
all
know.
sounds so literal.
And because I'm an asteroid junkie. Asteroid Requiem was tracking a week before the Pope's funeral, and I said in one of my videos, I said, "Well, it could be a Pope dying around this time."
Right. Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah.
in Taurus. I was thinking like traditional structures of power, probably near the sun. I can't remember why I said it, but yeah, the sky is comedic in its literal nature. I was telling Adam a story before we came on, guys, about how Saturn, which represents antiquity and old things and wise things, moved into my third house of the local neighborhood. And literally, like within a few days of that, I missed my yoga class in the local neighborhood, got the wrong time, walk into an antique bookstore full of old stuff. One of these, and I found a library of a woman. I think it's a woman, because so it's Dear Melda, here's another book for you, or something like that. A library of a estate sale from a woman who had classics like Alan Leo, Antiquity, original editions of, Dane Rudra stuff, and even a 1929 astrology book. Who would have thunk it? And so I just grabbed these like 11 books up. Like I found a treasure trove of antiquity in my local neighborhood with sage-like wisdom and knowledge. It's
Uh-huh.
cartoonish, right?
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, it's like the Mars retrograde in my third house, and they had to redo the neighborhood's like plumbing pipelines because there was toxic something in the water. It was like a Mars retrograde in my third. How literal is that?
That's so literal. Mars, that good old plumber and working on the local water supply.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is. It is so literal. It makes me laugh. And then sometimes I'm like, what is this? A simulation? I guess a total, like, it's funny almost. Now,
Yeah.
I have a thought about our situation with Gemini, Mercury being the trickster, right? The element of the jester, the trickster, the coyote, mischief, and all of that.
Yeah.
There's that paired with the Uranian impulse for invention, break through, break free, and then you add the Plutonian energy. It's going to be an interesting dynamic with that as well. Trickster energy may be playing out in areas to do with technology, human understanding of self, ancient history. Like maybe the ultrasound's not actually seeing what it thinks it sees, but we want to
Yeah.
think about the possibility of that because it's so
Yeah.
exciting and hopeful.
Yeah.
The mass use of phones too happened. Public phone, the pay phones and Maxwell Smart,
Oh my God,
mass
yeah.
use of public pay phones and public phones began to really take off in the 40s, where there's a payphone on every corner, right? So maybe in our modern day world, there'll be some new like tech thing that is like all of a sudden very everywhere public. And maybe it's as simple as we have embedded some kind of lens in we can pop our contact lenses on, so to speak. And as we're wandering through the world, or glasses, we're seeing like ads popping up on buildings that are tracking us, you know what I mean? In the
Yeah.
internet of everything.
It's like something that comes to my mind along those lines is the potential for an interaction between things that we're fooled by, right? And a development of greater understanding of how exactly we're being conditioned. So, for example, during the 1940s, B.F. Skinner was rapidly advancing the understanding of operative conditioning, right? It's like
Mhm.
the
Pavlov's dog. I
yeah,
mean,
exactly,
yeah, the
exactly.
dog.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah. But anyway, it was his work that led us to understand like how things can be sort of programmed behaviorally.
Hmm.
And it would not surprise me if during a time where we can't tell the difference between an AI mimic video of someone
Oh,
and
yeah.
like all of that, that we're also there's whether it's scientific findings, behavioral research, whatever, that's suggesting this is the link between your behavior and what you're consuming and the kinds of outcomes. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot more understanding about conditioning factors that we become aware of, which gives us hopefully more agency in working positively with technology as opposed to being under the control of it unconsciously, which is a Pluto dynamic. Again, it kind of
Yeah.
speaks to that whole like who has the control of the information and how do we understand it? The pushback would be greater understanding of how operative conditioning with technology is affecting us.
Oh my God, absolutely. I think like a tricky side of a Mercury story is like at a dumbed down level is clickbait thumbnails, clickbait titles,
Right.
tricking you into getting in there, but also the trickiness of is it real or not? Is that really, that politician doing or saying that thing? And how do we distinguish that? That's trickery, and it's tricky and it's trickster. So there's like a lot of potential for that to have to be really quickly legislated with punitive measures, really, so that people
Right.
doing that are going to find it very unhealthy for their lives, and all of that. And most likely, we'll see the advent of some sort of digital currency systems, hopefully not with social credit attached to them.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. The mimics too. The thing about Gemini is that it can be a mimic when you have like the twins as mimics. And Patrick Watson was just on a panel that I hosted, and he was talking about Uranus and Gemini as people potentially duplicating and creating AI version accounts of social media personalities or whatever, and the potential issues around copyright and licensing of creative content and mimicry and information theft going into like a whole new level of pirate techniques. So that was something I was like, ooh, but yeah, that could be as well.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's already coming up to be a big issue. I can only imagine it's going to have to be Pluto's going to have to grab some control over that in a good
Right,
way
right,
for
right.
the whole world. Actually, I find it already. There's stuff out there that's like, well, copyright violations, basically, because AI is reading our stuff and using it. And this woman did a really great podcast recently about the death of the World Wide Web as we know it. And I understand where she's coming from. And this technology, Uranus will amplify what we already have in Gemini, is that you put your website out there with all this information for people to go get. No one does it anymore, but we were doing that. Like, angel numbers and what they mean, or animal spirit meanings and what the animal means. But now people don't need to go to your website. They just go on Google and say, what's the meaning of the owl and animal spirit, and then the the AI extracts from many places and gives you the summary. So now
Yeah.
you don't get your traffic to your website. Now that's going to be a big deal as AI takes more space up on the internet.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. We also have the first, I believe it is one of the first or the first AI based astrology software programs, or there's an AI assistant feature in this new program Nichepso that's coming out. And I just got to see a demo of it at the NORWAC astrology conference. It was super fascinating, and they were talking about the use of this. Like you could, if you use it as a journal entry, on this date, I had this experience, and you journal events in that, it will create graphs and timelines of parallel transit patterns for you and kind of tell you, well, this is the common denominator in all of these different experiences if you journal them. So all
Oh,
sorts of stuff that like where I have no idea where it's going, but I was really inspired by what they were doing with it.
oh, that is fascinating. So yeah, so the meaning making pattern seeking AI technology helping us understand, add after the fact, but still worthwhile because that, in a repeat
Right.
performance in the future, similar
Yes.
things could happen. That would be the best possibility of the astrological use of AI. The downside is someone thinks you're going to get an AI reading, and
Yeah.
there's still not, the AI still makes a lot of mistakes all of the time,
Yeah.
and it also embellishes and seems to, purposefully kind of like embellish things in ways that aren't true.
Right.
But I would say that the thing that the human being has in doing work with clients is intuition.
Yeah.
Empathy, of course, as well, but intuition. And sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Like a Mars and Venus transit is a love story, but another time you can look at it, it could be a completely different story in a client's
Mhm.
chart when you're reading them. Because you're tuned into the human in front of you.
Yeah, that oracular divinatory space, it really does need a human touch. I see the AI as being like, this is the way that Patrick Watson talked about it as one of the developers of the Nechepso software. He was saying, we're imagining AI as an assistant to the astrologer, like having a,
Mm.
almost like, in Star Wars, they have protocol droids that help that the Jedis have with them.
Right, 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 right. Oh, I like the assistant. Yes, hand to the king astrologer. Yes,
Right.
what dost sayest thou about this situation?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like it's not necessarily a bad time to be an astrologer, but a lot of professions will be kind of run out of business with AI,
Mm.
especially in
Yeah.
manufacturing, robots, technologies like that.
Yeah.
But we will see how we astrologers fare in the next decade. Yeah. Well, that was fun. Thank you so much. We covered so many topics. I basically did a crash review of history before we got on the call because I've been working on other projects, and you brought a lot of stuff up I hadn't even thought of, Adam.
Yeah, you too. There were some of those things that I hadn't. I mean, I love hearing. I think that's why it's good to bring astrological mind power together and the delineate. You can turn the jewel from more angles when we work together. It's really fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And I hope you guys have enjoyed that. Don't forget, we talked in the beginning that Adam's class in at Nightlight Astrology for year one is starting in June 22nd. And this is the enrollment drive, so to speak. Get in before it's too late. And I can't even say I wouldn't be on YouTube talking to you guys as your astrologer if I hadn't studied with you, Adam. So I can't not endorse the thing that jump started my entire career. And I would
Oh, thank
also say for those astrologers who are modern astrologers already or have been dabbling in modern astrology, quadrant-based house systems, modern interpretation, or psychological astrology, that it's really worth investigating some of the ancient systems of understanding because it, for me, made astrology make sense for the first time. I was really swimming in the astrology modern world for years and couldn't really jive with my own chart in Placidus, which is pretty bad.
it's nice to have like the really ancient astrology is really good at helping anyone who likes astrology understand the why and the how behind every facet of the language, which then you can approach from many different perspectives. But having the why behind the whole structure of the language that's what this program is all about. And I think that that empowers people to be much more intuitive and fluid with their use of these things, which then you can still marry to a modern perspective, a psychological perspective, or whatever else. But we do have need-based tuition. I want to mention that one of the features of all of our programs is that we have affordable rate sliding scales if people are in a financially difficult time in their life, or if limited income, you're on disability, or you're a single parent, whatever the case might be. So that if people want to study with us, we want to make sure that no one's priced out. If people can afford our price, we ask that they do. If they need some help, they can use that need-based tuition.
Well, that's great because right now most people are feeling economically stressed, in
Yeah.
Canada especially, but some of my friends and clients in the United States are, everything feels perilous.
Yeah.
But right now for your country and some of the tariff stories. So yeah, that's a great reminder, and that really does help a lot of people jump in instead of waiting one day when they have enough money. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're going to finish up because what I'm going to do when we leave, I'm going to do the exciting and fun all signs portion.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Lori.
Inside joke. All right, my dear, you can leave and I'll just keep talking.
Okay.
Have a great day, Adam.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I sure did. That was a fun riff on some of the possibilities of what will happen when Uranus moves into the sign of Gemini. Again, that's on July the 7th through to November 7th. And he will also be there through to 2033 because of retrogradation. He takes a vacation from the sign of Gemini between November 7th and April 25th. So we get a break and then we're back in the game. So today is going to be a lovely overview video about how I'm going to go into your sign right now, about how you might find this electric energy of the trine between Pluto and also Uranus and Gemini. That energy flows. It's a high speed broadband connection between these planets. They tend to want to work together, and that will be in play basically for the next 3 years. So I'm going to talk about that energy, like in terms of aspectual trine and how you might experience this transit. So let's get going and do your sign. So I'm going to bring us over to the chart and we're going to go through your sign. I just want to show you the ingress chart in Washington, D.C. This is when Uranus enters at 00 exactly around 3:52 a.m. in Washington, D.C. on July the 7th, trining Pluto up at 3 degrees of Aquarius, retrograding. So they're actually moving in such a way that they will come closer and closer to a perfect trying to each other. But don't forget, Uranus is leaving this area of the sky, getting the heck out of Dodge in the month of November on the 7th. And so we do have the story here of a sort of touching base with the two planets, but not quite getting all the way together. One thing I will say about it, though, is that this energy in the United States, you see the Gemini rising temporarily there. That would be the 7th house of the United States in real life. The United States is a Sag rising. So there's something about the identity energy around DC, the culture, the people, the brothers of the United States, right? The twins represent civil war and fighting between neighbors, etc. Polarities like the Democrats versus the Republicans, and the trine energy to Pluto. And just stamping that's the 3rd house, Aquarius, of the United States, which is media and information and technology about that stuff. Like, really going to see a lot of change in the way the United States uses information and technology. But the 9th house is also indicating matters to do with law and legal matters. So legislation around technology may be a big theme in the next 3 years in the United States, especially, I guess, supposedly maybe the legislation of technology as it reaches the audience and the marketplace, and how it could also be problematic that this technology can be used by enemies, because Uranus is in the house of Gemini, is the house of open enemies for the United States. So the United States will be dealing with how enemies may use technology, communications technology against them. So cyber attacks, quantum computing, they can hack codes, can break into information storage facilities, basically, there's got to be protection around that. So there's a lot of these things that look like they're really here for the United States, and how the United States and Canada, same kind of rising sign placement, will be focused on legislating, controlling foreign adversary use of communications technologies and influence and manipulation. So that's going to be a big story for sure. That's what I see here. Now let's get going. Mercury rules ballots, right? The ballot box. And so technologies around ballot security may be a big thing as well. I forgot to bring that up with Adam. Let's start with every sign. Why don't I break rank and start with Gemini? You're already here. So Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. Wowzer. What can you say? You're literally going to be on electricity for the next 7 years until 2033. You are all jacked up on electric energy, and particularly this next few months, you're getting a taste of something new. I want you to kind of feel into, how do you feel, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising? If you're listening for your sun, it's really the career path ahead, your work, your purpose, but it's your deeper, truer self. If you're listening for your rising, it's the character in the simulation, and it affects your circumstances in life, and also includes your body. And if you're listening to the moon, it's how you feel about things, and can also be representative of matters of your home, right? So certainly Uranus going over your if Uranus is traveling where your moon is in Gemini, it could really disrupt your home, change your home, a radical revolution in the type of home you have, right? Same with career, all those things, revolution, change disruption of the career path for Gemini Sun, and then Gemini Rising. Well, anything in your life can be electrically turbocharged for change and disruption, shock and awe, and new energies, as well as invention. So that's true. If you're a Gemini Rising, watch your health, because there's a lot of high voltage energy going through your body at this time. It could be a Kundalini awakening and activation. Take your magnesium. Your nervous system may be stressed out. Now, this begins to be true for the risings. June the 7th, July the 7th through to November 7th. Then it comes back again April 25th next year, and it really more or less runs through to May of 2033. Let's keep it simple. So you've got a few years to learn how to deal with this energy. Obviously, if you happen to be early degree rising sun or moon in the first 4 or 5 degrees of Gemini, you're going to really feel it early on. And later on, as we move towards 2033, the later degrees sun, moon, rising in Gemini will get the last gasp of the storyline. But still, something new has entered the space of your Gemini-ness. Something new is here. You're going to feel enervated, excited, exhilarated, revolutionary, rule-breaking energy coming through your system, breaking through, breaking down, and breaking free. These are good words for you of what? Of anything that is holding you back. But with the trine to Pluto specifically, this energy will ask you to really not just have a personal revolution of some sort, but to align that with matters to do with dharma, meaning of life, true purpose. Really good for any Geminis who want to get into publishing, book publishing, higher educational settings. But there's a sense of how to take power and authority from Pluto and translate it to that revolution of self in alignment with the Dharma house, the purpose, meaning, and right use of your talents and gifts in life. It's really finding that true north. And you may have to disrupt something. You may have been on a certain course in life, your career, your work, your love life, who knows what. And now it could be time to disrupt it, change it, radically reinvent it. These are great ways to see it, to put you in this profound alignment. I mean, Pluto's in a book publishing house. Publish some damn books. My son's progressed to Gemini. I'll go for the book publishing myself. I had a dream about that last night. So that's this vibe of what you got going there. And technically speaking, with Neptune moving through the Aries zone as well, we have a mini grand trine, but I'm going to do a separate video on the mini grand trine. I really wanted to focus on the dynamic of Uranus and Pluto alone, so stay tuned for that further video coming out. In my estimation, you're able to really pull from deep knowledge and wisdom that's been hidden, that's been undiscovered, that's been you can uncover it. Now, this can be really personal, like excavation of your inner self, because Uranus is in your sign. But Pluto can be also transpersonal here. You may be able to uncover some knowledge and wisdom from some place. With Neptune in Aries, maybe channeling it, but some deep knowledge and wisdom for personal use or to help other people, that's ancient, that's deep, that's spiritually true. It's like going to the Oracle of Delphi, know thyself. And Pluto says, I'll give you a hand. Let's reveal what you need to know thyself. There's something gloriously juicy about that here for all Geminis. If you're ever kind of confused about anything, what's my true career? What's my true home? What's my true self? Then this is going to help show you the way. And look for evidence of that July the 7th through to November 5th. Take notes. Be willing to journal this. Really know, how do you revolutionize your identity in relationship to purpose between July 7th and November 7th. I'd love to hear back from you. For some of you, it may be changes of home. For others, it may be changes of career. Others, it might be any change in your life that needs to be had in order for you to step into a new form of beingness and understand yourself in a new revolutionary light. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is like powerful energy in a deep spiritual moksha house system. All I can tell you is, like, are you ready? This is like spiritual liberation. This is where houses 12 and 8 are alive. And if you are in a path to discover the meaning of God, truth, samadhi, unity consciousness, shunyata, non-duality, whatever, any of those things are up the alleyway here for Pluto in a moksha house to liberate from your egoic self and discover your true identity, and Uranus in a house to completely break through to Buddhahood. So I love this for you. You can certainly break free of the illusion, the Maya, the Leela, the play of God, and the Matrix. This is allowing for that kind of intensity in your sky. And if you do, you might share it with the world thanks to Neptune's placement in your 10th house. But You rate at this juncture, we're focused on July 7th and November 7th, with the understanding this transit doesn't really fully complete, right, until May of 2033. We're having a hiatus with Uranus going back into the sign of Taurus, April to August, right? April 25th of 26 to August. Sorry, on November 7th to April 25th. So there's a break in the intensity, but you're getting a taster of it. If you're not into the Enlightenment story, then there's some revolutionary, deep energy that wants to break free and through in ways that connect to your self-undoing, self-sabotage, the habits and patterns that undo you, how you're your own worst enemy, break free, break through of that from that story. And with Pluto in his 8th house placement, it's because you're excavating profoundly deep karma connected to your childhood, connected to your family of origin, and even connected to past lives, because that activates your 4th house as well. All said and done, let me just put something back up. Am I good with this? I'm just trying to remember hidden factors, guys, hidden factors. We might note that Jupiter is blessing everybody, but particularly you. With the situation of Jupiter's placement here, where's Venus? Well, with Uranus, let's leave those two there. Because Venus is kind of like by Uranus's side as he ingresses. It may have to do with breakthroughs in love, self-love, overuse of pleasurable substances, things that undo you because you're finding yourself addicted to them, and now you can break free, break through for Cancers. But I wanted to remind you that Jupiter is in your 1st house, and therefore you are sublimely able to find the goodness, the 4-leaf clover, and the rabbit's foot in any situation that this Uranian impulse brings you during this time of the first wave, July 7th to November 7th. Now, money can come out of this kind of thing as well, because the 8th house is a chunky money house, and the 12th house is borderless money from foreign marketplaces, companies, and people. And so there could be a financial breakthrough in a financial area of your life from money that you're not earning in a day job. You could get a nice chunk of money coming through July 7th to November 7th. And you are very lucky with Pluto protecting you. So I think all said and done, you're feeling quite good about this. So I want to double check another placement. There's Mercury, the Lord of the Ingress, in your 2nd house of earnings. I probably should have started with that, but give me a break, guys. It's really early today. So I'd say you're going to definitely find yourself increasing some financial wellness this summer in a big, chunky, surprising breakthrough way, July 7th to November the 7th. Hey, Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Simply said, because I'm going to do another video on this, a deeper dive on this, but to start off, Mercury's in your sign handling Uranus's ingress into your 11th house. And in a way, that's good, because it's like you got your hand on the reins of the situation. It's not going to blindside you. But for Leos, it could be a sibling one older and a shocking sudden surprise. It could be a financial surprise for them. And it's very positive, trining Pluto. Maybe a sibling one older is going to be very wealthy. Maybe a friend, ally, or benefactor is going to have a positive surprise that they want to offer you, give you, show you, and benefit you. But also the energy of Venus in the ingress can indicate a female friend, an elder sibling one above you, with a shocking, golden, beautiful, surprising wish fulfillment. You've always wished for something, and now your wish can come true, because this is a house of one's wishes, and there's a breakthrough energy up here. Now, with the trine to Pluto, people who are wealthy and power benefit you in the actualization of some of your long-range goals, dreams, and wishes between July the 7th and November 7th, and that could include a significant marriage partner and their wealth or their power in a positive alignment for you with regards to the actualization of those long-range goals and dreams for your life. You could get a surprising breakthrough in your work in terms of the career gains themselves being more luscious, more electric, a breakthrough to a new level of success in your career gains themselves with Venus in that part of the sky. And you are the negotiator, the speaker, that you're the one who took the interview. You're the one that signed the contract. You're the one who applied for that job because Mercury is in your sign. You've got this, you're in charge of it. You're making it happen. It's not happening to you. It's happening through you, as you, by you. And conversations with significant other people, like a business partner, client, or a spouse are leading to this breaking free, breaking through in a long range goal dream, or financial success in your career. This energy is playing out as an archetypal set button through July 7th to November 7th. Look for those exciting breakthroughs. Looks like good money, pennies from heaven, and windfalls as well coming your way, Leo. All right, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. How sweet is it to have this energy in your career house for the next till 2033? Uranus will be up there electrifying your career reputation, your visible actions in the world, your social standing. It's going to be erratic. It's going to be changeable. It's going to go in ups and downs and like spiky highs and lows. It's very staccato, but breaking free, breaking through, and breaking, to new somethings, like inventive illumination of a new path or career, an unexpected insight, breakthrough, vibration this summer, July 7th to November 7th. But with Venus, lucky breaks, lucky breakthroughs in your career. When Jupiter in your 11th, greater gains from those lucky breakthroughs, more finances, more power, more wealth, more good things showing up in the career space. But also Pluto in the work house. So these are Artha houses for you, 6 and 10. They're work houses, material resources houses, and it activates more material success through your work. And why your work? Because Venus rules your second house of savings and earnings, and she's in the career space with Uranus. There's something about breaking free and breaking through in the career as it pertains to material prosperity and success. And it's not always going to be just a story. This is what's really playing out July 7th to November 7th. A new story emerges April 25th of 2026 to May of 2033. We'll cover that when you get there. But it looks like the first taste of this energy, especially this summer, July through to November, is going to electrify your career and the money you're making and the power you have in that career. You could end up working for a company that is way beyond what you thought you could be evolved in. You're going to be powered up there. You could even end up with Venus ruling hand of the king, being a personal assistant or up level to like second down from the high hog boss of the place, or some powerful person or boss or leader person, that's Pluto in the 6th house, is going to favor you greatly in your career. And it's just like breakthrough energy. And it affects your finances positively. That's the good news from the career itself. Mercury, of course, Lord of this story, is in the 12th house. Backroom deals and negotiations, secret negotiations, things going on behind the scenes will favor you in the career. That's what I got for you. Let me know how your career goes. If you don't have a job, I think you're going to get one. If you have one, some big changes, but they're exciting. July through to November. Okay, Libra. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. So here we have the energy of a electrical cattle prod of exciting change and breakthrough in your 9th house of God, a Dharma house, meaning and purpose, alignment, book publishing industry, higher education, teaching, visas, passports, and travel, electricity, change, excitement, Venus, positive, lucky, and good. This is going to be very activated from July 7th to November 7th. Then it comes back again, but in a different form in the spring of 26 to 2033. So we'll cover the Uranus transit in another set of videos next spring. And having Uranus up here in a trine to Pluto, houses 5 and 9 are like a meaning of life, dharma, alignment with purpose. And the 5th house is fun, play, creativity, joy, art, inspiration, entrepreneurial stuff. So there's a huge bolt of energetic positivity here this summer in those areas of your life. And they're also going to impact you personally. You might feel more healthy, more happy, more joyful, more alive. It should look and feel good for you to go through this July to November storyline. And really, in some ways, with Venus up here, this is a travel house to distant shores, and some of you may be having the experience of unexpected or beautiful or breakthrough moments in travel that bring positive things to you. Some of it could also involve royalty income or wealth or contracts regarding money and publications and book publishing, travel and teaching. Mercury is the Lord of the story, and you're lucky in your career. Look at Jupiter giving you career luck for an entire year. Mercury says, I'm in charge of this story and I'm in the house of great gains. Whatever's going on, by moving with alignment to purpose, some of your long range goals, wishes, and dreams are being fulfilled, especially when it comes to the advancement of success in your career and receiving the career awards that you feel were due to you all along. You're going to be feeling career rewarded. Mercury's going to make sure of it, and fortunate and lucky as well. But it's all because you're moving more deeply into purpose. If you're in a book publishing industry, you're good to go. If you're in tech sectors, anything to do with technology, that's Uranus up there for your career. That's also very positive for you. Mercury rules sales. Of course, if you're in tech sales, this is great. If you want to sell your book, go speaking tours, do podcasts, share your knowledge and wisdom. That's where this is happening. The breakthroughs in your knowledge and wisdom. These are marketable, merchandisable, and sellable through speaking, communicating, talking, selling, etc. These are great stories for you. I love it. Pluto's in an entrepreneurial house. If you're not an entrepreneur, give it a shot. Maybe start a seed idea July to November for entrepreneurial, new, meaningful business. Hey, Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. This is like electrical energy breaking through, breaking free, change, erratic though, in the 8th house of money, chunky money, money from inheritances, money from tax rebates, money you share with a spouse, money from spousal support and separations, monies from inheritances. I say inheritances. Certainly with Pluto and Uranus there and Venus for the money, looks like an unexpected, shocking possibility of receiving an inheritance anytime between July 7th and November 7th. We're baking in the first ingress here. And possibly you might find also that you may have sudden, shocking, and surprising opportunities to purchase a property or sell a property. And there's liberation, freedom, and excitement and financial prosperity as a result. Houses 4 and 8, however, are deeply spiritual liberation energies as well. So you may have spiritual breakthroughs as you liberate yourself from your limited sense of identity and you break free of your childhood stories and your childhood programming. This could also have an unexpected, exciting opportunity to change your home because you have financial opportunity to buy or sell a property and you may move. Neptune in the 6th house may also, I didn't draw Neptune, but trust me, he's there. Neptune, Saturn, you could formally set up a new home connected to rental property. You may rent a new home or rent your own property out. If you own a property, those are stories I could see happening here as well. Then this July to November, but there's always the element of surprise when there's Mercury there. And I won't discount the inheritance story. Jupiter is in the house of courts, so you could probably get, the probate done quickly and successfully, and Mercury's in the 10th house. Some of this will be about your reputation and career as well, and maybe some shifts there as well that are exciting to do with things that you are able to change in your career because you are financially enabled to do so. This is a little far-fetched, but Jupiter activates fertility energy in the chart. Venus is fertility stories. Unexpected, sudden news you're going to be a parent or grandparent could show up in this story. There's no doubt about it. Will it? I don't know, but I won't leave that as an unresolved possibility. Look for that July 7th to November 7th. In this case, reincarnation most likely of someone who's passed in your family or of origin. So Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Here we have this energy of the electricity of the thunderbolts and lightning and electricity of Uranus, like the Tower and the Tarot, in your house of marriage, long-term love and commitment with Venus, the goddess of love. Single, then you might meet someone. How? Through travel, local neighborhood, or educational settings. This could indicate a electrifying new romance, Neptune and Saturn in the house of romantic love. I didn't draw them in there. I really wanted to focus on Pluto, but and Uranus, but nonetheless, this could look like a new love story. And it looks fun, exciting. It's outside the box. It's like nothing you've ever done before, like nobody you ever dated before. Definitely travel. Definitely maybe someone of a foreign culture or from a foreign land, different language, different skin color could be involved. Maybe somebody much younger than you, but there's electricity here and it's exciting and it's taken off. Now, if you're with somebody, well, then your key person in your life may have electrical shocking changes in their life that may require travel, may connect to shocking changes in the life of your spouse connected to a sibling, may also connect you to legal matters and a spouse, especially dispensation of shared resources, but in a positive and exciting way. There's change happening here. So when you're breaking up with someone and who gets what, there's some of that in here as well. But there's positive stuff. Venus is a benefic, and she's very protective. So hopefully you don't have an open enemy. Venus rules the house of legal disputes, and you're suddenly shocked by a court case coming against you. Jupiter favors you on the financial front in that case. And Jupiter will make sure that if it's a legal court case from an open enemy kind of vibe, connected to writing, communicating, traveling, learning, and teaching, these are thoughts, that things will work out for you. But your partner in a long-term love relationship is having something happen as well. It's not just about you. It's in that house of the other. So some shocking information, news around your partnership, maybe connected to foreign places and lands, maybe connected to legal matters. This would be like your partner announces they're going to have a divorce. This isn't working. July 7th to November 7th. But with the trine to Pluto, I also think this is also going to benefit you in the long run. Your partner wants to move out of the neighborhood. Your partner wants to travel abroad and let you sit by yourself. I mean, I don't know what it is, guys. There's lots of ways it could go. It's, as I said, if you're with somebody, it's like that. But if you're not, it could be like a turbocharged new romance coming July 7th to November 7th to a summer of love near you. So Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising, it is a electricity here, a thunder and lightning vibe of the Tower card in the tarot, moving in that sixth house of work, health, pets and rentals, and tenancies and debts. And with Mercury ruling that in the eighth house of stocks, investments, and shared resources with others, unearned income and inheritances, there may be an electrical, shocking, surprising, but positive opportunity to have enough financial wherewithal to pay down, pay off, or eliminate a debt. A loan, a mortgage, a spousal support agreement, something like that. This energy electrically turbocharged in the sixth house, it can affect your health. And your health will be interesting over the next while, right? This is July 7th and November 7th. But don't forget that in April of next year through to 2033, you're going to be living with Uranus in your sixth house. So you're going to be living with something to do with electrical energy in the house of sickness. So I'll say, be attentive to your nervous system and your brain. Take magnesium. This is where you could have health challenges. Is your cognitive function, your nervous system, your brain, your electrical system of your body, the nervous system. And the pineal gland, the third eye. And these are all very Uranian. You could get a job using your pineal gland, start telling people the future. Your third eye is going to light up for your work ahead. Venus is a good goddess here for financial goodness in an unexpected, surprising job connected to Pluto in the Artha second house of earnings and work and savings. And so in that regard, there may be a job opportunity, an unexpected, surprising opportunity to make some money, some kind of career endeavor that surprises you. She rules your 10th house of career. And this is exciting. And maybe it's coming through Jupiter. Jupiter can be in your 7th house, a wealthy, powerful, positive person who brings good things to you, who shows up as a magnanimous and generous character and wants to support some kind of career opportunity for you. That's possible as well. Certainly, it impacts your finances with Pluto in the 2nd house of earnings, but it's very connected as well to the houses of debt and indebtedness, work, and career. So let's see where this jolt of excitement comes from. Venus does rule your house of lottery wins, gaming, and speculation. There's always a possibility that you knew your limit and played within it, bought a ticket and won some money. Or your partner in love did because of Jupiter in the 7th house, and you're coasting on a financial reward anytime between July 7th and November the 7th. Well, Aquarius, I am one of you. And yes, we have a long new story to deal with of Pluto in our sign. Yes, we are going to be Darth Vader and dictatorial and powerful and maybe wealthy. And we're going to see life through the lens of what's unseen, what's deep. We're going to root out the hidden variables. We're going to be very Plutonian. And as we look at ourselves this way, sun, moon, and rising, we see that we have the electric energy in the house of romantic love and children and creativity and entrepreneurship and education if you're learning something you're already good at. And this electric current is firing up break free, break through. This is a house of lottery wins. Yes, you win a lottery here. You can play the casinos, the speculation in gaming. And that's the storyline. So possibly you could have a breakthrough in a lottery win or winning some money or feeling like you just won the jackpot or something. I'm going jackpot because of Venus and Uranus and Pluto. This is a wealth yoga. This is exciting. This is a break free, surprising electrical current, maybe of celebration. Pop the Dom Perignon. Something looks good on your finances, July 7th to November 5th for lucky wins around money. Now, Mercury is the Lord of the story in your 7th house of significant marriage partners. Maybe they're going to win. You're going to partake of their electric Powerball ticket. Maybe Mercury, who rules ballots, but also lottery tickets in the 7th house, could be something to do with a contract negotiation or agreement, shocking, surprising, exciting, to do with art, creativity, including like, you write a book, you create a song, and a contract or agreement that's going to make you wealthy. It will show up in the summertime, July 7th to November 7th. Jupiter is definitely capable here of creating real lucky breaks when it comes to your work as well, but also debt and debt elimination stories can have some superior results if you carry debt. I don't know about the way Venus would operate in romance here, but if you're single, you're going to have sort of a cathartic, regenerative, intense, passionate, power of love, Kundalini activation type romantic partnership thing. It could show up if you're single anytime this summer and really carry that signature profoundly. But you may take your sexual, romantic, and love life to another level to go much deeper. Mercury rules the 8th house, which can be tantric, and the Kundalini can be Uranus. So some of you might be orienting sexual, romantic storylines in that direction over the next 2 or 3 years, but with test piloting that energy this summer. Shocking positive surprises, perhaps. Venus bonifying your house of your children. Technically, this would be your first child, the house of your first child, but Mercury's in the house of your second child. So all said and done, who knows who, is getting the big surprise, but some positive news from one of your children. Venus rules fertility. Unexpected is Uranus. Surprise, I'm pregnant. One of your children may announce that. Who knows? Jupiter in Cancer in the 6th house. You never know. You never know. Could be a baby on the way, an unexpected surprise through one of your children, July through to November. Oh my goodness. Never last, never least. Oh no, I didn't. I started at Gemini. I was wondering how I got around the wheel so quickly. All right. So Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is like electricity in the home, unexpected, radical, breakthrough, break free change, and unexpected developments in the home. If you want to run an internet technology business or internet online business from the home, Venus says, yes, you'll be successful, lucky, and prosperous. So yes, you could do that. There can be some erratic disturbances and unexpected changes in the home though. And even though Pluto is in a trine, he's in the house of hospitals, possibly with Mercury ruling the spouse. You could have unexpected developments with the health of a spouse, perhaps, if you have one. But this can radically reinform the where you live connected to a romantic love story. We have Pluto, we have Jupiter in the house of romance, which is going to take a romance to a great level of success. And so new romances are blossoming for you this summer, July to November. Mercury would love for that to be going past dating. He's in the dating house. He owns the 7th house of committed love. So some of you may be going into a really big time of exciting, surprising developments regarding romantic love, dating, connected to changes you didn't anticipate in your home. You might move your home to a distant shore in the name of love, that kind of thing here. Or positive surprises are regarding debts and indebtedness connected to your home and the wealth and power to eliminate financial strain. So mortgage payments and stuff, refinancing, getting a lower interest rate. These are exciting things, They could happen July through to November. But don't forget, you have Uranus here till 2033. He's just going to take a break November to April. So you got to get used to this kind of like your home won't be steady. I'll tell you that much. Ask anybody who's an Aquarius rising. Since 2018, when Uranus first ingressed into the sign of Taurus, the Aquarian 4th house, we've all had massive, multiple disruptions and changes of home. Home will not be steady. You will have more than one place to live over the next 7-8 years until 2033. Trust me on that. Trust me on that one. All right. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. What can you do here? This is a story of your electrical thunderbolt of change and a surprise and breakthrough in the third house of writing, communicating, marketing and selling, teaching, learning, skills-based teaching and learning, local neighborhood, and traveling. Well, a lot of stuff goes on in that cadent third house, doesn't it? It's a interrelated, it's a desire house and it's a relational house. And there's erratic energy down here coming up July 7th to November 7th. Venus says it's good for you. You like it. You're okay with it. Unexpected, exciting breakthroughs in travel, in neighborhood developments, in anything in the online social media world. If you're an online social media beast, then this is breakthroughs. A viral hit would be a great example. Pluto, more influence, power, and greater career gains for wealth through breakthroughs of viral content in the online world, July 7th and November 7th for anyone in the social media sphere. Writing project breakthroughs that are very positive are possible as well. Marketing, selling, communicating, excitement, exhilaration, and breaking free, breaking through, bringing greater gains and wealth to you from the 11th house. Pennies from heaven. Yes, wealth from pennies from heaven. 11th house stuff. Third house is your local neighborhood kiosks, stores, and restaurants. And Mercury runs the show from the house of lottery wins. Some Aries may be lucky enough to win a lottery ticket or through their marriage partner or significant other. Venus rules your 7th house. But you and or your partner in long-term love may indicate here a breakthrough in money wins for you as well. Jupiter, expansive, luscious luck in and from your home, close to home, in your hometown, still supporting the idea of that neighborhood lottery ticket success story. You never know. Jupiter rules the house of hospitals. I'm an Aries sun and moon. I'll be playing the VGH Vancouver General Hospital lottery, grand prize $2.5 million. I've already got my ticket. So that would be a perfect example of the luck around the home to win some money. This would be good for gaming, casinos, and stuff like that too. But, be careful. I'm not suggesting you spend all your money to win. This is general astrology. This is not your natal chart. I can't tell you if this is really the right advice for you or not. Unexpected travel opportunities, exciting, fun opportunities to travel about your children, with a romantic partner, a breakthrough conversations with a romantic partner, especially closer to the July 7th storyline, but running through the entire summer. Entrepreneurial breakthroughs as well, greater influence of social, expanded influence, more people know who you are, more celebrity, more income from all of that. So it's a summer of success if that's the type of career you do. A sibling one younger than you may have a shocking, surprising bit of news, but it's positive. And, same thing for aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews. They're announcing things that surprise you, maybe fertility announcements as well. Venus is a love goddess. Mercury's in a romance. If you're single, romance in the neighborhood, romance from a short distance trip, meeting someone new, maybe being introduced by powerful and rich friends to somebody new and having a new romantic relationship fire up. And it would be very fortunate, very lucky, and very fun. But breaking free of a mold, the way you've dated before, like maybe someone much younger than you, that's new for you, or some difference in the type of person you're attracted to. That would be true as a new romance could sprout from this. Venus rules commitment, Mercury's in romance, July 7th to November 7th. Look for exciting new out-of-the-box romance. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. I like the electrical currents in your rags to riches second house. Uranus transits through the second, bring rags to riches and riches to rags. It can go either way. Be careful. There's a lot of pulsing, staccato, breaking free, breaking through, but erratic energy for the next 7 years, so 2033 here. But we're talking about July 7th to November 7th. And that's when we have the first testing of Uranus in your second house, trining Pluto in your 10th. Power it up, baby. Career success, power and financial breakthroughs in your career coming through July 7th to November 7th. If you get a new job off of this, and I don't see why you couldn't, lucky breaks are here with Venus, then you're going to be making much more. You're either making more money or you're in a position of more power. And it's like a breakthrough success story. You were going to like this upgrade. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. A lot of backroom deals and negotiations with Saturn and in Aries, helping you get this breakthrough event opportunity for sure. It's really good for breaking free of addictions as well, but we won't go into, if you have an addiction, you can really break through July 7th to November 7th as well. Now, I would say though that the energy, these are Artha houses, they're income, earnings, savings, job, and work. Venus rules your sixth house of job. I mean, if you're not employed and you're looking for work, this is a great summer to succeed at getting a great job, July 7th and November 7th. I just can't say anything else about it. It's wonderful. It's wonderbar. You could get a pet. Mercury likes to buy and sell and merchandise things in the fourth house of home. Venus rules your house of pets. You have to pay for the possession of a pet. Breakthrough, break free, pet. But most of this is career, money, jobs, stuff. It's those kinds of things here. Jupiter brings you luck in the neighborhood, close to home. You know, so if you're going to get a job, it's not like you're going to have to travel to another province or country or state. It looks like a new breakthrough, career success closer to home in the neighborhood. Even Mercury is saying close to home. So this is not going to require you to radically change your home, I don't think. You put in your nose in the mouth is in the second house, breaking free, breaking through pleasures that are bad for you. And there is a sextile to Neptune, Saturn in your 12th of addictions and self-undoing. So again, really big breakthroughs there, not exclusive of the job. Like the job and work stuff and money stuff is great. And by the way, you could also dump those addictions. They're no longer needed. You're easily able to let go. Breaking free, breaking through. I would suggest, by the way, hypnosis, because you've got Neptune in the 12th house. And if you want to break through an addiction, I really suggest you do a hypnotic session for that. Now, Neptune rules hypnosis, mesmerism. Okay, moving into the last sign. Oh, we're done. Okay, guys, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I finished my Adam in the middle, you guys at the end. Here's my quick outro. I told this story to Adam, but I'll repeat it again because some of you may not watch the whole Adam thing. I told that outro already. What else do I want to talk about? I know, synchronicity and flow again. So you won't believe this. This is cray. So I'm moving to a new place and I have to buy furniture. It's unfurnished. I'm in this place I'm in is a furnished rental. And so the other day I was talking to my partner yesterday and I said, I would like a kind of painting above the mantle. That mirror I have is too big. And I would like it to have a certain kind of vibe and maybe colors. And I was thinking I also wanted to maybe get, a sofa that had some yellow in it, and ended up instead buying these yellow pillows because I think I'm going to accent with this color, right? I love this kind of golden yellow. And basically I was saying to him all this stuff. And I walked out the house to go to a coffee shop to write my Substack article. And I never made it there. And first of all, I never write that early. It was 10 in the morning. I'm always writing in late day afternoon to jack myself up on green tea. And instead, I went out early, I headed down the street, and there was a woman a block and a half away, and there was two little end tables and two beautiful pieces of art. And the big piece of art, I picked it up thinking she was giving it away, like, alleyway giveaways, but no, she was either going to move it to Goodwill or something. And she said, would you want to buy it? So for $40, I bought two beautiful little end tables, well, not even end tables, but they're tables I can use on my balcony and as an end table in the new tiny apartment. And the painting is perfect on the mantle. So I got all of that. It was such flow that my partner, James, was still home. He grabbed the car, picked me up. We moved it to my new apartment. I put it on the mantle. It's my dream painting for the vibe I was looking for. And I got everything for $40, $10 an object. And I literally wouldn't have gotten that if I'd followed my intuition and walked out of the door of the house. But that morning we've been talking about the painting I need for above the mantle of the new place and how nothing I have here will fit. So that's a synchronistic flow story. When you move into a state of gratitude about being alive and breathing, no matter how crappy your life is. I notice that synchronicities don't work that often when I'm in a dark, deep, funk out space. I'm grumpy, I'm angry, I'm seeing the negative, the cup's half empty. When I'm in that space, sometimes the synchronicity will jolt me from it, and I thank the universe for it. But you require a level of attention that's not often there when you're all in the sort of inner cloud storm of your angst, right? So it can almost create synchronicity. I used to teach this by adopting a habit of being purposefully and even faking it till you make it grateful. I'm just going to find the good things about my day. Sure, I have, this problem, but at least I don't have that one. Finding a spark of something to be grateful for, to get your mindset more on the subjective well-being half full cup. because then I think synchronicities and flow, like I just shared with you, will meet you more than halfway. And there's always trying to meet you halfway. It's not like a contest, like a report card. Oh, bad girls who are grumpy don't get good flow and synchronistic outcomes. No, but it's you're not there to see them like trying to reach you. You're like your attention is too compromised by the thought pattern of what's wrong. So if you can kind of give yourself a permission slip to pretend you're grateful for something and move into a bit more of a gratitude attitude, I think your velocity and flow and intensity of synchronistic flow stories will increase. So that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Hope that outro about how I'm going to tell my sister called how to harness synchronicity for greater flow and ease. Because I think, and I told you my story, I think that what I told you as a hack might work because in my own experience, it does. All right. So that's what I got for you. I'm going to sign off. Come join me in Sky Reader. Yes, I know I'm promoting Adam, but I teach a 6-week jumpstart course that's fun and lively and simple. And he teaches a year-long deep dive. It's not the same product. So come join me in Sky Reader. If you like a shorter jumpstart, you can always learn with Adam in the fall when he does his next cohort for the class. He'll get some basic for me and a lot of fun. And I'll be putting the enrollment card open in mid-June, and you can get on the early bird discount enrollment as well. So check it out below in my description box as well. Thanks, guys. Ciao, ciao.